All right. Sweet.
Yeah, I don't know. Pause it, put it full screen. Let's rock. Wow. Found it. Yeah, you did. He found it, all right. Found it. That's the one. It occurred to me. You did it.
This is behind the stunts, so we're all professional stunt people, and we're going to be telling some stories, answering questions, talking about action and film and television.
Want to have a favorite actor? That's what we're working on.
Oh, yeah.
Want to have a favorite?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It was nice meeting
We'll
you
share
guys.
some fun stories.
Still action.
All right. All right, we started with on the line. Oh, yeah, actually,
Yeah.
Oops. I thought that was a joke. I thought that's the camera was good.
Yeah, please, come on in. Have a seat.
Pull up some chair. Oh, sorry.
Oh, nothing came out. Yay.
Well, what I didn't know is there's water. They provide water.
There's a thing right there.
Sweet.
I like these. What do you want this stuff?
Just over here. Let me stay here and over here. Both ways. This on? Oh, thank you. It just it'll
Oh, okay.
boom, go. There's water inside.
just gonna wait a few minutes, get some stragglers in here and everything else like that, and we appreciate you being here. You got one, Austin? Have you guys been walking around the con so far and enjoying it?
No, we haven't been in that area yet.
Oh, all right, well, you're in for a treat, and you guys can cut out any time if you want after we talk and do a little bit of stuff. Hey guys, welcome in. Did you guys get to meet any of the celebrities and people that you, like, was there somebody specific you came here for? Sorry.
Oh my God, Disco Elysium, right? Oh. Yeah, that's awesome.
I got beat out by a 8-year-old male from the Metros. I was like, she's awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love Disco Elysium. That's like one of my favorite games. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I want to meet them. And Derek Mears, the huge ball who did play Mike Myers and everything else. Like Maya would work with him quite a bit, and we like Gregory Patera, like she worked on the Walking Dead in Apollo. And so we walk over, they're like, Maya! I was like, oh, you remember her? He said, yeah, the snake on the table. It's not funny. Hey, just keep in mind, that our live, this is where we got you talking about, so. Yeah. You guys like stunts? We're starting up a stunt panel in just a few minutes here. Stunts are cool. A telephone, man. Hello. We're doing a, behind the scenes picture.
I didn't think I saw that one. I'm fine with that one. Nice. I didn't know she was there. Yeah, I
Too late. Let's get the other side.
think we're ready to go. You guys ready to go? Yeah. Sweet. Let me get these guys. All right, you guys want to get going? There's like main stage ones over upstairs. You go around and up that way. All right, thank you. Whew.
Testing. Testing.
Why is that?
Oh, it's because test. Aha.
No, not really.
All right. How is everybody doing today? You guys enjoying the con so far?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet.
So this is Maya Santandrea.
Hello.
In stunts, we usually have to hide our face, so I'd say that you've seen her face on things, but she was Miss Marvel stunt double, worked on Jungle Cruise, Sleepy Hollow, and what was the one?
Walking
Walking
Dead.
Dead.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen where the woman had her back against the column and the guy takes the wire and rips off her head, that's actually her, and we're gonna take a look at that. This is Charles Barden.
How's it going?
Charles, how long have you been in stunts?
11 years now.
11 years. Why don't you talk to the mic? All right, so Charles has worked on a number of things as well. What are some of the credits that you would want to?
Most recently, I worked on Tulsa King, which is why I had this really cool hat. So thanks Freddie Poole and Weston for that. I've also worked on The Bondsman. I actually got to kill Kevin Bacon, so that's pretty cool. I'm winner at the 6 Degrees game, so there's that.
Yeah.
But Walking Dead, I was on that also, and quite a few things.
And my name is Bobby D. Cerise. I've been in a bunch of stuff as well. Most notably, people are into Marvel stuff. I was Kid Loki's double because I'm not the biggest dude. And so most of the time when there's a kid on set, they'll get somebody, an adult to double them. We have a film development company called Good Slate Pictures, and we produce a show for YouTube called Behind the Stunts. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch a little video of some of the highlights of that show, and then we're going to kind of open it up to conversation if you have questions or if you want to hear some stunt stories. There's also some other really cool things online. There's a guy named Corey Eubanks. He does a car crash clinic in Texas, and he has a podcast called Stunt Stories, and he talks about flipping buses for Michael Bay and things that go right and things that go wrong. So without further ado, we'll open this up, make sure it's not too loud because we had an issue with the sound earlier. But this is Behind the Stunts.
All right, let's see. How loud are you going to be? You fixed it. He says he fixed it. Of course. What happened? Oh, amazing. Starting off on the right foot here. No. Okay.
How they brought that stuff, my favorite action movie? That's what we're breaking down today.
Bro, you okay?
I feel sorry like concrete.
I bet you do.
Boom. All right, so that's a lot of highlights from our actual show. And before you guys leave, if you want to come and hit the QR code, and that'll lead you right to our channel. We always appreciate likes and subscribes, and we got a lot of content coming out. We actually went out to Texas to do the car crash clinic, and the guy that is our host, he's a 28-year-old stuntman who was doubling Kevin Bacon on The Bondsman and some other shows, and we decided we were going to stick him in the cars. So we took the host, we threw him in the cars, and if you when we release the episode, you'll see it, but there's a lot of stuff online about it, and what he does is he'll take these straps and he wraps up the cars, and then they connect it, and he drives off while it's connected to his truck, and it takes the car and it just throws it. And so one of the funniest things was we put we put some microphones and some GoPros in there, and not realizing that we were going to get a lot of stuff we had to bleep out, because as it's flipping on yours, so on that note, I'm gonna ask these guys some questions, and then if you have questions, feel free to chime in. Maya, when did you get started in stunts?
About 15 years ago, I was living in New York at the time. I was training there and not getting a whole lot of headway as far as getting my career off the ground. Moved to Georgia in about 2011, which Georgia was still like, it's weird to, yeah, it was weird to think about it because there wasn't much of a film market here at the time. So if you go back to like 2010, 2011, The Walking Dead had pretty much just started. It was in its first or second season, but that was getting some traction. Some movies were coming into town, and I knew some folks in the stunt business already, so I had some connections here and decided to just make the jump and make the move, and with a lot of hard work and networking and a lot of being in the right place at the right time, I started my career, and my first ever job was on a Hallmark made-for-TV movie, which
What did you do? What was the stunt?
The stunt itself was actually really cool. It's a film called Firelight, and it was about a group of women prisoners that were being trained to do fire and EMT work. So the scene was we had to rescue a kid that was trapped in a car that was like teetering over the edge of a cliff. So there was like, it was a real car, they rigged it up so that it would actually fall over the edge. A stunt friend of ours named Brent Bernhardt was the victim that we had to rescue. He was on a cable and had to dangle out of the car as if he were falling out of it. It was like this whole elaborate setup. It took about a week to shoot it, and it was actually really cool for as small of a film as it was. But that was my first ever stunt job.
What about you? What was your first stunt job?
I don't know. I fall on my head. So I don't know.
Okay, so how long have you been doing stunts then?
The same amount of time that I've been in the industry, pretty much 11 years. I'm part of one of the homegrown Georgia guys. So I once the boom kind of kicked off here, I decided that I hated my current career and left the cubicle world for something a bit more exciting.
You left the
A
cubicle?
lot more exciting.
Okay, this is not stunt related. What did you do in a cubicle? No.
I worked in accounts payable right before I shifted into this field, so I did a lot of forensic accounting and some other stuff.
All right, that's boring. Enough of that.
Yeah, no.
Do we have any Walking Dead fans? A lot of people.
Yeah.
So, and we'll see it at some point, but like I had mentioned, Maya here, when you did Walking Dead, was that
Yes.
your second, third, fourth job? Where was that?
Oh my God, it was very early. I think I went from doing the Hallmark made-for-TV movie straight into doing an episode of The Walking Dead. And I actually started as a background actor just because I wanted to get on the show. I wanted to meet some of the people that were working on it, which I did. And I started out as a zombie, and they realized very quickly that I was kind of a bit of a performer. I liked to really lean into the zombie performance. I wanted to give a good performance and show that I was a good actor.
Like the Key and Peele skit, and you get the scare.
Yes, it was almost exactly like that. And the funny thing is that the set we worked on was almost identical to the one that they used in the Key and Peele sketch. It was like a big chain link fence. It was outside of a prison. This was early in season 3, so I started working for them on season 3. It came back several times to do work as a zombie, to do various stunt work, and then I also doubled the character Enid, who was a younger actor at the time. I think she was only 17 or 18 when I started doubling her.
I'm not familiar with the show. I
Yeah.
watched it a little bit, but do you guys know the character Enid?
Yeah, and then I doubled the actress Thora Birch one time, which I thought was
She's here.
really weird. Yeah, she is here, and I didn't even meet her that day, but it was when everybody was walking around wearing masks and stuff, so it didn't matter that I looked absolutely nothing like her. So
who was
yeah.
the person that, if you guys, I mentioned it to some of you, but there was a scene where the head gets pulled off.
Michonne was the character that
So
decapitated.
if you guys remember
Yeah.
that scene in specific, she's her back against the wall, and they put a wire against the throat and
I
pull,
think
and the head pops off.
We have that.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
see that, but do you guys remember that scene? That was her. She was all made up.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. And if I'm remembering this correctly, Merle was killed in that episode as well at the end. So, yeah.
So did you guys watch The Bondsman at all? Did you guys see that, the Kevin Bacon show? So in the very beginning, Motel, same thing. That was this guy, and he got like thrown against the wall and folded up. I don't know if you guys remember that scene from that. What was that like for you? Like, were you on a wire, and how much was like computer graphics, CGI versus what you actually did?
Oh, it was all practical. I really contorted. It was pretty cool. I was on a wire, so basically from one side of the cabin, which is where the door was supposed to be, I say quotes because doors are never really where they're supposed to be, all the way over into a corner. I got yanked and then screamed and yelled and got turned into a human pretzel and then dropped on my head. So it was kind of cool.
So did they slam you against the wall and then CGI fold you up, but then dropped you for real?
No, because we had some wonderful people taking care of me on that set. The wonderful rigger and stunt coordinators, Hutch and Hank Amos. They were all looking out for us. So what happened is I actually had a line attached to my back. It was my pull line, is what we'll call it. I had a line that was a trolley line that I was actually riding on.
It's almost like a zip line in reverse going
It's
up.
exactly right.
Basically, yeah.
And then I had 4 lines to my front to stop me before I would hit the actual wall, because I was going into a corner and it was a really awkward space for a human body to be. But one other thing that was interesting is this was an actual, like, almost 200-year-old cabin that we were working in. The ceilings were barely 6 foot at the beams. And I'm not a super tall guy, but everybody else in that scene was, almost 6.5 feet. So it was really interesting. But on the other end of my line, so what provided the motivation for me to go from one side of the cabin to the other was literally 7 guys. They actually had to cut a hole in the ceiling to the 2nd floor. So
They did like a fireman pole.
that's exactly what it was. They were jumping through, pulling in to get all that speed to pull me up and off.
So we keep saying the term wire work. Are you guys familiar with wire work? I'm sure that, if you watched any behind the scenes of any of the shows, they'll show you how they make Superman fly and all that other
Yeah.
stuff.
And like going all the way back to the Matrix, like all of those kind of things were done on wires.
So, like, that's what we usually call it. And what we have is we'll have a key rigger, and that person will design everything. And then there's usually a crew. And once everything is designed and engineered, we'll have somebody come in and they'll put up some points and some pulleys and some stuff. Most of the time, whichever way the camera's looking, we have to redirect all the lines off camera and then make sure that we can, pull safely and do those stuff. And in one instance, we were doing a show, and the scene was, if you ever seen somebody whip a towel, right? So the scene was this huge vampire guy comes up and grabs this girl's legs, and then towel whips her into the ceiling and then back down to the floor. And the only way to pull this off in this little hallway was we ran everything up through the ceiling and then out to a warehouse. And so we had some guys out there that were gonna pull. And I was like, man, can we set up a monitor for you or something? It's like, no, there's gonna be a delay. I won't be able to tell in real time. I was like, well, how are you gonna know when to stop pulling? And he goes, well, when she hits the ceiling. And then so we did the stunt, and you just see her go from the ground and just go, whap! And she sticks there for a second because they couldn't see her, so she boom, and then they feathered her down and she hits. And when she stands up, I go up to her, I was coordinating this, and I go up and I asked, I was like, are you okay? And if you've ever seen, like, it reminded me of like Roger Rabbit, if you've ever seen it, like, I'm like, what the hell is that, Roger? Tweeting birds? Like, she had the tweeting birds going. And I was like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm good. And she's kind of like looking around. And I was like, do you need 6? She's like, no, I'm fine. Boom, and then hits the wall. I was like, all right, you need 5. But we do have a wire demo that we're gonna show you guys if you wanna cue that up while we, yeah, it's on there. So basically, we love to do as much as we can practically in terms of if we can put a mini tramp or have somebody run and jump off something or self-motivate is what we call it. We love to self-motivate if we can. For that extra enhancement, we tend to add wires and rigging. And what we use, there's a company called Climbing Sutra, which is funny, but Climbing Sutra makes these 52-pick harnesses, and they're very, very tight. We have to cinch them in almost to where you can't breathe, right? So what they say is actually take a breath and then cinch it in so that when you exhale, there's a little bit of air so that you can kind of move your chest when you're doing these things. And most of the time, a good rigger will let the performer do what he wants. So if we wanted somebody to run along the wall, we'll give the opportunity to the performer to do that. A lot of times what we call is like rigging it for a sandbag, which means that whether that person can do the moves or can't do the moves, we're gonna rig it so that sandbag's gonna go across the wall. Wrong. That was our other Comic-Con. If you we're not far from Atlanta, and we did the Atlanta Comic-Con. If you guys haven't been, that's a really fun con as well. It's only like 3.5 hour drive from here. Is everybody from Savannah that's here? No? How many people are from Savannah? How many people are not?
Almost half and half.
Yeah, it is literally
That's pretty
50-50.
crazy. Wow.
So we're gonna go ahead and watch this one. This was some of the scenes from The Bondsman. And without further ado, this is a little bit of wire work. They go down and there she is.
Yeah.
Have you ever done like that before?
There it is.
Yep.
That's right. So on that note, I do want to open it up to some questions. If you guys have questions, either for anybody up here regarding stunts in general, stuff we've worked on, or wire work. If you have questions about wire work, how it works, and that kind of stuff. So if you have a question, let me know. Raise your hands. And if not, we're going to talk more. Yes, sir. Sorry, they didn't give us a wireless mic. It's my bad.
So, like, how often are you guys like getting injured? Because I just recently seen Tom Holland, he got hurt doing a stunt. So, like, is that a normal occurrence? Like, people getting injured, or how often does that happen?
So we do our absolute best to make sure that people stay safe. However, accidents do happen. So on Doom Patrol, a really good friend of mine who was doubling Cyborg. Right?
Yeah.
We had this gag, and it was so if you see these bigger gags, a lot of times we use what's called a ratchet, right? And it's a pneumatic air, and it's an arm, and we put it on a system so that when it pulls 6 feet, the person goes 60 feet, you know, kind of things. And he was supposed to get pulled in one direction and then ratchet, and it pulls him to the wall. And just coincidentally, like, they rehearsed it 1,000,000 times, and then on the day when they did it, don't know if it was adrenaline, what happened? He had never gone any higher than the pads, and then he went way higher, and he missed the pads and hit his head on the concrete, and had to cut him out of his harness. He was unconscious, and you know, so
I was actually working that day when that happened. It was pretty gruesome because we weren't sure what happened to him at first. We thought maybe he had some kind of a spinal injury.
Oh, I think that's something over there.
sorry. I think it's like a smoke alarm that's not for us.
Yeah.
Is it that thing?
Possibly.
Watch this.
Oh,
All right.
Anyway.
Sorry.
he's fine now. Just so you all know, he's okay now. But at the time, it was pretty scary because, like Bobby was saying, he had to do a pretty complicated piece of action where he actually had to jump off of an air ram first. And an air ram is basically a fancy way of saying he was catapulted into the air and then pulled on a line to the side. Pretty complicated stunts, and was doing it fine. And we were on set just doing a rehearsal. Like, it wasn't even, we weren't even shooting anything at the time. It was just, getting him acclimated to being in the actual space on the set. And yeah, that happened on the very first go, and it was not pretty. Luckily, he's okay now. His injuries were actually pretty mild compared to what they could have been. Because like I said, it could have been a spinal injury. His spine was totally fine. But he did have like a fracture. But things like that, I would say, are pretty rare. Like,
Yeah,
for something like that to
statistically.
happen is pretty rare. I've only seen maybe 2 like big accidents where people had broken bones. They had to be taken to the emergency room. We try to mitigate the risk as much as possible.
Yeah, I'd
but
say
again,
statistically it's like a 10% of the time. So 90% of the stunts go really well, and if you did all of the numbers, the amount of stunts in each show, and added up the amount of injuries, it's a very small percentage.
Yeah.
Now, going back in the day a little bit, these guys, I know guys that are like 60-something years old that I've known for a long time and thought they were in their 80s because of the way they walk and move and talk, and I'm like, what happened? When I found out, you're like, oh my God, you're only 62, right? Compared to like, you seem like you're falling apart. And those are the guys that they'll tend to say like, oh, back in our day, we used to do this without pads, and we used to do this, and we're like, yeah, that's why it all changed, right?
Yes.
So I hope that answers the question, and if you want to chime in statistically or anything about injuries and stunts and...
Not necessarily statistically.
Statistics.
Clearly not big to speak much.
We fall down.
In the reality of it, that's what stunt performers are there for, is as protection against an incident. Because if something like Tom Holland, the example you used, if that happens, production has to shut down. And when production shuts down, it doesn't mean that their payroll stops. They still have a whole lot of expenses that comes out of their pocket. And now it's just going to waste because their main star or a star that is in the show isn't working.
Yeah, we're replaceable.
We're very replaceable.
If I twist my ankle, they're like, get the next guy his size.
And that happens sometimes.
So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
How old is too old to start stunt work?
Never too old, especially based on your sort of athletic ability and also your height, weight, and look. An example of that
and
is,
also what you want to do in stunts also.
Yeah, and so it depends, right? Like for me, I can drive like enough that if I was stunt doubling, I can 90 a car and do things. But if you want me to drift at 93 inches from the camera, there's somebody that spent their whole lives learning how to do that. So if you're starting off late and you're like, I want to be the best driver, there's people that have been doing it for way long. Whereas me, I was an acrobat and I did circus and whatever else. So when I got into martial arts, running off the walls and flipping and fighting and doing all that stuff, I had a lifetime of experience. So especially if you have some sort of skill set that you bring to the table, like for example, let's just say that your whole life you've been working with swords and you know swords and you're doing swords. I'm just giving an example. With your look, you could step into stunts right now if you had sword experience and they're doing a Viking movie and a thing, you'd be like, you're in, right? Now, it also has to do with, like, we don't have agents, so it's very self-promoted, right? What we do is we actually have, like, back in Atlanta, it's called Diamond Action Design. It's in the back of our production house, and it's a stunt training facility. So a lot of people, we tell them, like, if you're interested in stunts, check out Diamond Action Design. There's classes, there's seminars. You know, we get people that have done the 300 and all the sword work and the coordinators for Superman and these things to come in and kind of give these seminars. And it's a good way to kind of dip your toe in and see if, hey, stunts is for me or stunts is not for me, you know?
Yeah.
But that would be my best answer is, like, depends on your skill set and your specific look. Because for me, versus him, he's not much taller than me, right? But I get less jobs because I look less grown man on set, right? So if you have somebody, the main actor is 6 foot tall, and then I come out at 5'7", they're like, he doesn't look very intimidating. We need 6 foot and up guys, right? And the same thing with, you know, like her and her ethnicity. You know, she's a
I'm a mutt. I'm a mix of like 3 different things. So I can double a lot of different people with different backgrounds. One other thing that I was gonna say is, you know, there's always kind of a need for, like, when we do the wire work, there's always need for stunt riggers, and Charles and Bobby can probably speak a little bit more to that, but you know, people with those kind of skills that have, like, and if you're good at, like, the math and the physics behind doing some of the rigging work, that kind of thing is always in demand. So again, really kind of depends on what you're trying to get into. There are people that we know that only drive and only do stunt rigging or whatever their particular niche is.
Or, like, I don't do horses at all. I had an experience, and if you guys want to hear it, I'll tell it to you. We went and practiced. There was a show coming up, and there was some horses and whatever else, and Tom Holland, I might have been able to double him. And so we went and practiced some horses, and I got on this horse just to, like, clop around and kind of get used to it. And it was a barrel racing horse, and he hadn't run for that day. And so I get on it, and I'm like, and the horse just goes, and it reminded me of, like, Bugs Bunny when you see, like, the smoke, and he's just gone, and leaves his silhouette. This horse takes off. And I haven't been on a horse since I was like 8, and I'm just like, and it gets to a barrel, and instinctively, it goes around the barrel, and it starts going, and I'm going like 45, I was like, nope, fuck it, and I just jumped off the horse. And so I was like, I don't want to do this. Me and horses, well, I'm cool, like,
Yeah.
anything else. I'd rather jump off a building, or through glass, or do something that most people would consider more dangerous. But for me, I've done that. Horses, unpredictable. It's not like a car. You hit go, and I thought I was hitting the gas pedal lightly, and the thing went from 0 to 100, and I was like, I hate it. Never want to do horses. So I just kind of backed out of that. You, sir?
I made the worst decision ever to shift careers into stunts later in my life. I think I was 37 when I decided to get to make that move, so 37, 38 when I shifted over. And literally, I compete against guys half my age. You know, in theory, if I had kids, you know.
Do you do more stunt rigging or more performing, you'd say? Or is it kind of a mix of both?
It's a mix of both. I still do a fair amount of performing, and then I'm doing a lot more action acting is what we call it, because there's a big shift for that. And honestly, us, we'll say more mature stunt performers enjoy that because it's usually a little nicer on the body.
Yeah. So, any follow-ups on that? Cool. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So I was just listening to the Friday the 13th Q&A, and that's very stunt heavy.
Yes.
And they were saying that he felt some type of way sometimes when he was, like, behind the scenes doing all the stunts, and then all the actors get all the credit, and they claim it a lot. So as stunt people, how do you feel about that? Does it anger you or make you feel some type of way, or do you just not care because that's not what you wanted to do?
I'll let the panel. You can start.
I'll go first because I have an opinion.
Please.
That's what we're paid to do. We're paid to make them look good, and that's kind of the bottom line. And if you feel a particular way about that, then you signed up for the wrong job. You know, if you want the glory, go be the actor, get your agent to get you a job, or get you a casting to get booked to get the job. Then do that. If you know.
Well, let me piggyback on that.
Yeah.
What if, like, the job is to make them look good, but unlike Brad Pitt or somebody else who goes, man, the stunt guys, they're awesome and they do their thing, versus being like, no, I do all my own stunts. What's your opinion on that? If they start claiming that they're doing it even though you did it, same opinion?
If you cash the check to do the job, there you go.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about that. Do I like actors who take credit for other people's work? No, I don't. I'm not a big fan of that at all. But my perspective is strictly addressing that question, which is how do I feel about that? If I go to McDonald's to make French fries, I go to McDonald's to make French fries. That's what I do.
Similarly, I kind of feel like, a lot of us are not really in it to like take credit for things. So again, it's our job to make them look good. I kind of feel almost exactly the same way about Charles. It's nice to be recognized about that kind of stuff. It's nice when someone like Keanu Reeves, that has a lot of clout in the action industry and is a very well-known face in the industry and is very kind to his stunt people. It's really nice when someone like that gives us props. But that's not really what we're in it for, I would say. Like, most stunt people are not in it to have any sort of fame or glory or become a celebrity. It is nice to have some recognition. Similarly, we get asked a lot about how we feel about the Academy. The Academy actually is adding a stunt category in like the next couple of years or so. So that is something that they are going to recognize. So it's like, that, it's nice. It's nice to be recognized. Not necessary, but it is appreciated. So.
I'll be brief. Like I mentioned with covering our faces, it kind of taps into exactly what they're saying. It's a very gloryless job, right? There's no glory in stunts. You get to walk away going, that looked awesome, production was happy, the actor was cool with it, and that's kind of...
And now I didn't have to go to the hospital.
Yeah, that's your pat on the back. I will say this, and it's a little deviation from that, is my opinion on, like, I don't like when an actor is against having a stunt double there. Because your whole goal is to be there for them. Literally tie their shoes if you need to, right? Like in some cases, like Marlon Wayne's stunt double, and he's been doubling for a long time, right? He's a really good friend of ours. And I watched him like swap his shoes out and tie his shoes and then fix his pants and do the things. He's been with him for so long, Marlon brings him on to every show that he does. Whereas I was working on a show, I'm not gonna name any names and whatever else like that, but I was working on a show and the double just despised having me there. One of the very first things, he walked up to me, he goes, "What are you here for?" I looked identical to him. He goes, "What are you here for?" And I was like, "I don't know, stand around." And he goes, "Yeah, you ain't doing nothing." And I was like, "Okay." And then he had to like grab a dude and drag another actor, and he wasn't quite strong enough to do it. And after 3 or 4 takes, he looked over, he goes, "You might be doing the next one." And I was like, "Oh, now you need me," right? So it's kind of that's the one thing that I would say, I have an appreciation when an actor is glad to have you there. Yeah. Maybe you're not gonna do anything. We stand around for 16 hours sometimes and do nothing, right?
Yeah.
Don't tell the producers that. We shouldn't be on live saying that. No. But ultimately...
Yeah, I mean, like, there have been instances where we've been brought on, the girl, Caitlin Nakin, I think the actress's name was, who played Enid on Walking Dead. I came in one day to ride a bicycle for her. That was it. I just had to ride a bicycle for her. I was like, that's my job today, is to just make sure she looks like she's riding around on a crappy bicycle that has flat tires, because it's a little bit too shaky and unstable and it's hard to pedal, with flat tires and everything. So she doesn't want to do it, I'm there to do it for her.
Nice.
No problem. There are some, we've met actors that like don't have driver's licenses or they're too young to drive and we have to come in and drive for them. So it really just kind of depends on what it is they're doing. But like Bobby said, it's nice when the actors appreciate us being there rather than resenting us being there.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions? And if not, I'm going to ask some questions. Any questions? No questions? All right. Most dangerous stunt, most fun stunt.
So there's always an inherent danger in doing stunts. Let me go ahead and throw that out there. So when we pick a most dangerous one, everything we do, there's danger in it, and that's
Everything's
why we have
relative.
it.
Yeah, riding that bike was really dangerous.
Like in each one has a different category, I guess, because
Level
me
of-
and Maya both do water
Mhm.
safety stuff. So we do stuff that's underwater. There's an inherent risk there. You can drown. I think most of us have also done fire burns, and that means.
Like horses, I stay away from fire, to be honest with you. Me and fire, I'm like, why?
I'm cool with fire.
I love doing burns.
Yeah, like,
What that's still on my bucket list is one of my bucket list stunts is to do a full fire burn on camera. I've done a ton of it in training, just not on camera.
All right, so question for the audience, right? If you knew that you were in the right hands and it was safe, would you want to be lit on fire? Show of hands.
All right, okay, like a few of you.
No, listen, I respect it. I'm just like,
Which is hilarious because I'm not gonna lie, doing a burn is one of the safest stunts that we do. Like it is one of the safest things that you could possibly do.
boo.
Yeah.
I mean, it
It
is.
is.
You
Really?
have a full team, well, for water safety and for your fire burns. You have a full team dedicated to each individual person that's down there
Mhm.
or on fire.
And everybody has a very specific job to do. Like, it could be one person that is just there standing with the fire extinguisher. That's all they're there to do is just have the fire extinguisher in case it gets really big.
All right, so what's the most dangerous one you've done?
I'd go with fire burns. I mean, even though it's super safe, there's a huge mental component to it that if you're not dialed in, you can forget.
You can
that you're
breathe in
involved. Well,
fire
not
and
that.
things like
Yeah.
that.
Well, no, where I'm getting at with the dangerous part is not that, it's that you forget that you're doing a stunt because the heat gets to you and your body reacts and your brain reacts and you run. You run away from your safety
And then the
team.
guy with the fire hydrant's chasing you.
That's literally it. And we have guys that will tackle you, we have fire blankets that will tackle you and knock you to the ground and hold you there until we can get you extinguished.
Yeah, so don't run. Just hit your mark, lay down, and let him go. All right, most fun.
Most fun.
Getting folded up in a corner.
I mean, that was pretty fun. Yeah. We'll go with that one.
All right.
That's been pretty fun.
Most dangerous, most fun.
I'm actually gonna go in the opposite direction to you, Bart, and I'm gonna say the work on Wakanda Forever was the most dangerous stuff, and for a very specific reason is that Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever, there was a lot of water work involved. Charles and I are trained to do scuba. We're both diving professionals.
Yeah,
We've
for
been
scuba.
we've been doing scuba diving for a long time, and usually there's like gear involved. You have a regulator, you have like outside sources of
But this
air.
was like free diving though,
This
right?
was all free diving. So now all we're doing is literally just holding our breaths for as long as we can and doing the scenes in the water. So I would say just in terms of that is not an environment you are supposed to be in. And there are no air sources around you whatsoever. If you need air, you just go straight to the surface. So in terms of like just being in an environment that you're not supposed to be in with just using your breath as your tank, that was probably the most dangerous. And I would say it was pretty fun too.
It was
I
also
feel like
fun.
it was also fun, but I gotta say my favorite show to work on was actually Doom Patrol. The bad
She was Crazy
accident.
Jane's though.
The bad
Wow.
accident aside, like that was way at the end. That was pretty close to the series wrap for that show. Aside from that one bad accident, never really had any incidents before then. The crew was always great. The cast was really cool to work with, and they did some of the most unique stunts I think that I've done in my whole career. So I would say the most fun was anytime I got to work on Doom Patrol. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a good day.
All right, I'm going to answer this question for myself. Most dangerous, most fun. When I first got started, I wasn't even in SAG yet. and I was doing a promo for Dubai, right? Like the TV thing, like, and I get there and they got 6 panes of glass, and I'm gonna jump through one, and then they're gonna high-speed camera and jump through 2, and I jumped through the first one, and they wanted me to jump through, and then and glass goes everywhere. It was the wrong kind of glass, right? So normally they have, they'll use a popper, and they use specific glass that breaks into little tiny pieces, right? And
So a popper, just in case you don't know, it's tiny little explosives on the glass to make it break.
and it's a timing thing. So we go 3, 2, 1, and we jump, and right as we're hitting it, a special effects guy goes like this, and the glass would blow. You don't actually have to break the glass. That's a little behind the stunts moment, right? So for this, I'm breaking the glass. I'm running and jumping through this like frame, and I jump through, and then I land, and I take my pose, and then it looked like death by 1,000 cuts. I just went, and blood just, I was like, what is going on? And they're like, all right, you ready to go again? I was like, no, I was like, I'm not gonna do this again. And they're like, well, we got 5 more panes to break. So I was like, oh man. So very next one, I run and I jump, and I just, and they're shooting in 1,000 frames a second on film, so that when you turn this thing on, you hear it go, and it's just burning through film. And I run and I jump through, and you can see me just before I hit the glass, I tightened everything up and turned it into a little ball, and then just went through like an egg. And it didn't break the glass. And they're like, well, we gotta do that one again. I was like, no! So that was, and when I tell you, when I was done with that, there wasn't enough Band-Aids in the world, and I was like, well, this was dumb. So that was probably the most dangerous, because in one of the scenes, I break through, and then you see this like huge, sharp thing drop behind me, and I was like, I think I could have died on this. So that was probably the most dangerous thing, and most fun. Has anybody seen The Curse of Bridge Hollow, the Marlon Wayans movie? So it's on Netflix. I was Fats the Clown in that. And so I had this like animatronic head, and it had little puppet controls. So if I wasn't using my hands and my face was in the scene, I can control that. And working with the Wayans was like a lifelong dream of mine. If you in Living Color or White Chicks or any of the things, like Marlon Wayans is exactly who you think he is. He's an awesome dude. And so I'm in the scene, and I have to take my arm and hide it in the fat suit, and then they attached a fake arm. And so I chase him with a machete, and I miss him, and then I go to run up to him, and he puts his hand out, because I'm a clown, he stops me like this, and goes, beep, beep, and honks my nose. And so I belly bump him with this 60-pound fat suit, dude, and he grabs my arm and he rips it off. It was all part of the scene. And they told him very specifically, don't hit him in the head, because he's supposed to beat me with the arm. They're like, don't hit him in the head. We only have one of these masks, and it's very expensive, and if you mess it up, there's a lot of movie left to shoot. He didn't take that note. So he rips off my arm, and I'm looking through like these little tiny slits, that's all I can see, and he rips off the arm, I kind of lose him for a second, and then he proceeds to, pardon my French, beat the shit out of me with this arm, only in my face, right? So he hits me, what? And it turns me, ugh. And I'm like, where'd he go? So I try to look back, what? I get hit again, and I'm getting all turned around, and then he starts running away, and I have to find him. So I look up and I just find him, and I start running down the thing, and he throws the arm at me and hits me, and I almost eat it. And then they're like, cut. We didn't have to do it again, and it sounds stupid, but that was some of the most fun I've ever had, because one, I can say that like I got to work with the Wayans, but two was, it's his movie, so if he wanted to beat me with the arm however he wanted to do it. And I just remember when it was all done, the crew was laughing, and Marlon was laughing, and we were all having a good time. And so that was probably one of my, it was a bit of a dream come true, but it was also really fun, so that's probably my most fun. So here's a question for you guys. I'll go around and name something, right? Some of the things we worked on, but name something, and I'll tell you if we worked on it or if anybody's worked on it, and if there's a story behind that. So let's start with you guys. Name anything. See if we worked on it.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Which one?
Oh.
Homecoming. Or something.
Any Homecomings? Any Spider-Mans in general?
Yeah,
I don't know. I
You
wasn't
probably
there.
worked on Homecoming. I would think.
potentially. One of them.
And any good stories?
Uh,
Any Spider-Man stories?
Well, I got another job out of it because it was supposed to
That's a
be,
great
I was
story.
supposed to be one of 5 people who were being swung by Spider-Man through downtown Atlanta, which is, I think was supposed to be Berlin or something at that point in time. It was pretty cool. Didn't happen for me and one other person, but 3 people had a really cool ride under a helicopter in downtown Atlanta.
Ah,
Sweet.
Yeah.
Novocaine.
Novocaine.
Uh,
No, nobody.
No. Sorry.
Boo, we're no good. Name any movie, maybe we worked on it.
I guess Superman movie.
Superman. Did you?
I did not work on Superman, but DC, you're getting warmer.
I will say this, at the Atlanta Comic-Con, the coordinator for Superman is a really good friend of ours, and Juliana Ramos-Ortiz, who worked on that, they were on that panel with us on that one. And that video is online if you want to go see some of that stuff. So no, we didn't work on Superman, which it was kind of a bummer because they were looking for a lot of Spanish people. Now I'm not Spanish, I'm Greek and Italian, but I was like, close enough. And all of my friends around me were working on Superman. I was like, well, I didn't get a call. How come? So,
I
kind of a
didn't
bummer.
either, but
Anything?
Supernatural.
no, that was a kid.
No.
That was a kid.
Yeah, Supernatural filmed in Canada, so unless you were like really, really like an A-lister and got flown up to Vancouver, then no. It would have been cool to work on that though.
One more, because that was a Canada thing.
Yeah.
Or
TVs, film.
All right, moving on.
That's
That's all good. I'm putting you guys on the spot.
Oh, we got one.
How about one of the Star Trek movies?
Star Trek.
Oh no, but that would be really awesome.
Orville. Does that count?
I mean, I'd say yes.
Yeah, there was.
It's close.
When I was out in LA. Yes, actually, and a really good friend of mine is both Bucky Barnes and John Wick's double. And we have interviews with him on our page as well. Bucky Barnes behind the scenes and all that stuff. And we talked about Thunderbolts because we have 2 interviews on our page where we sat with Heidi Moneymaker, who was the stunt coordinator for that, and we sat with his name is John Nania. And John is a really good friend of ours, but he's also been Bucky's double for a very long time.
Long time. Yeah.
Like, well, I'm 9th Dan, whatever it is, martial arts. Like, he's been doing it since he's a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Oh.
What you got?
Five Nights at Freddy's for the upcoming Five Nights at 2 movie.
No.
Yeah, we're not.
No, I wish. I would for sure get in one of the animatronic suits. Like, I would love to do that. That would be super cool. But no, unfortunately, no FNAF. We enjoy working on horror movies though. Horror movies and comedies are actually like, that's where we get to do some of the really fun stuff, and because it's things we don't normally get to do. It's usually pretty unique to whatever
it
the story
almost
is.
falls into the category of most dangerous stunt on Goosebumps, a Slappy Halloween. I was doubling a kid, and the bullies, and we had to ride our bikes, and they have this CGI
bikes?
hose that goes across and clotheslines the bullies. And so the thing is there's a stunt called a dead man. It's named that for a reason. What happens is you come to a dead end of a line, and it's kind of connected to your upper back, and it stops you in place and whips you like onto your back or your head. Yeah, so come to a dead stop, you create a dead man. And we were all on lines riding these bikes as fast as we could, and because they're seeing the ground, they couldn't put any pads in, and because the bullies weren't wearing helmets, one kid had a hat, so they could put a thing in, the other kid had a wig, and my hair matched the actor. So, full speed bicycle, come to a dead man, get yanked off to the concrete, and I was just like, oh, this could go really bad. Luckily it didn't, but horror and comedy, and horror comedies, like when Marlon was beating me with this arm, are a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
Did you have?
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask, like, what horror movies have you worked on?
He worked on Halloween. What was it? Ends.
Oh yeah, which thankfully the normal double was busy for reshoots, so they brought me in who I do not resemble him, but thank you for the paycheck. It was James Courtney's who I doubled. If you know that whole series, he's Michael Myers, and the man is quite a bit larger than me. So again, thank
Lucky
you for
break.
the opportunity.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And for that, what happened for me was I came in, we did reshoots where they slapped me on top of a station wagon, drove me around Savannah, because it was actually done here.
Oh, nice.
And then took us to a junkyard, and then they passed me over everyone's head with their hands up to where the metal grinder is at the junkyard. And if you've seen that particular movie, or if you haven't, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but something happens there.
I know she did Walking Dead and Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah,
Creep
Sleepy
Show.
Hollow,
We both did Creep Show.
yeah, the TV series. I was in the first season of Creep Show, which was also Greg Nicotero was on that as well, which was super cool. And then for film, I think really the only horror film I've done is that really awful Truth or Dare movie. I was a double for that, and some eclectic folks out there know what I'm talking about and know how bad it is.
We also, I do a lot of stuff with Fangoria. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Fangoria. So we do a lot of coordinating and working with them, and we actually have, I can't give too much information away right now, but we do have a feature coming up, and if you guys, before you leave, come and scan the QR code and give us a subscribe. We are going to do a bit of a giveaway. We have some swag and some hats and some stuff. So we're going to take everybody that subscribes to the page, and we're going to put them all in a pot, and we're going to pull a name. But it's also a good way to follow us in terms of, like, we have our own horror movie coming up, and one of the things that, the advantage to what we do is we've designed action for Marvel and DC and all these things, and we started our company to be able to do that for ourselves, right? So the great part about doing our own horror movie is we're gonna be able to amplify the action in our own horror movie. And I'll give away a little scene, which is at some point we have a double car hit where somebody gets hit by a car and sent off in one direction, but the car hits a tree and the person in the side seat flies out of the windshield, and I can't wait to do that. You know what I mean? It's going to be such a fun, stunt to do. On that note, I feel like there's another panel that's going to be starting pretty soon. I do want to open it up to any last questions if you have any.
Yeah, yes.
Have you done anything overseas for foreign film companies like Bollywood?
Not me personally.
No.
A lot of my friends have, and so there's a guy, James Hutchison, and his recommendation. There's an interview with him because he was the stunt coordinator, second unit director for The Bondsman, and what he said was, if you ever get the chance to go overseas and work on a Bollywood film, he's like, do it. He goes, your stomach will regret it, but everything else you're gonna enjoy.
Yeah.
So.
For sure.
Well, on that note, we want to give the next panel time to set up. We really appreciate you guys being here. If you take a second to scan the QR code and give us a like and a subscribe, or whatever the terms are. It's been a blast, and we hope you guys enjoyed this. As we pack up, feel free to come up. We can answer any other questions, meet and greet, any of that kind of stuff. But thank you so much. This has been Behind the Stunts, and enjoy the con.
Yes, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys.
I'm part Persian, so I have some family that was at one point from that side of the world. So.
I've been watching a lot of Bollywood. My wife's in Hollywood, so I've been watching a lot. He's a perfect height.
Yeah.
Perfect
I
build.
was up for a meeting in one of the Bollywood movies. Yeah, and so what ended up happening is that one went away, but it was also one of the things that were like,
I wrote, so the people that live underwater and then were
I would say one of those scenes. If you go back and watch the scene where the lady actually gives birth to him and has like the water, I'm in that scene. I was one of her boys. Yes. Yeah. We would love that. But yeah, any of like the underwater stuff that was, I was in a lot of that. Your actors that
We actually learn to like fall.
yeah.
And it's just becomes like water.
Well, yeah, there's definitely a fight scene.
It's like 1,000.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
She was in The Walking Dead.
Thank you so much.
I only watched like the first.
Thank you.
If you end up being extra, ask who this number is. Hey, I want to get into something that. I usually tell them that the best thing I can help is not say, hey, give me what I say, hey, what advice do you have? And they'll say, you know what? They'll give you some more things, some people to talk to, and they'll say, send me your stuff. If I have somebody to call, I knew them for 6 years. All I did was ask them to guide me. After 6 years of knowing them, doing everything they said, they gave me my first second job. Waiting tables. I said, what if I saw that? That's a clock.
Yeah, I live in Augusta, and they've come in a preview.
Yeah, that's the time. So I was telling you guys out there with, what's his name?
For you guys to hit the Atlanta stuff.
That one.
Yeah.
Like you're in Atlanta.
Oh my God, yeah.
So can you been there?
Yeah, I was there.
Aaron Eckhart?
Yeah.
Well,
Dark
yeah,
Knight.
They also tell me Lee Jones.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Yeah, Aaron Eckhart, right? Aaron Eckhart will be down there.
Oh, yeah.
So there's plenty of stuff like that. If you ever get over to Atlanta, like I said, check out the Irish. If it's free. Yeah, so, I learned my number if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting up. But, I can send you some stuff for the,
Because all I do is sit at home and I'm an analyst at work for a while. So I'm in, and I'm just like, I'm dying in my chair.
The guy that was married, he wrote a book
I know
about
about
growing
that.
up as his character. Oh, how funny. And so I actually read that, it's actually pretty good.
He wrote
His own backstory.
his own origins.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
let me know when you're ready.
I'll let you do it. Yeah, I've been doing.
Yes. Surprise.
Yeah, yeah.
You can find it free online.
When we were talking about taking a 90-degree angle, I was like,
But
I'm never
it's
doing that.
about Captain
So-
Surprise birthday party. And he's so sad.
Just shoot me a text because like if you're sending.
They like
He's
go over
living right
and
now, so
fog
he's
or
getting
like
everything.
running around the kitchen trying to make sure that everything's right.
Yeah, because they have in Augusta, they have a racetrack they open up
Keep him away from all the birthday planning. Or birthday planning.
go-karts.
Yeah, and that's a great way to learn.
That's why I was sitting there thinking, man, that's a great way to start. He can do that, and the risk is very low.